Freeze! Right there! Let's talk about analog horrors. And I can't remember if that's an...
You not know about the log horror. The log horror is good. The log horror is great. Doin, big, doin, 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 doin. Us, doin, doin, us, doin, us, doin, us, doin.
We good? Am I back? I think I'm back. Oh, thank God. Whew. Analog horror is a fucking wild medium. If you think about what it's all about, it's a genre that takes your childhood nostalgia, the juicy little bits in your brain that fire off synapses that go, ooh, I like that. I like it, Charlie. I like it. I like it. The Rugrats. Chuck E. Cheese. That feeling when you're running up the stairs right after you shut the lights off and you slam the door before the creature reaches out to you and grabs your booty. That's just nostalgia for me. Okay. As kids, we were able to kind of, tuck it away into the backs of our minds and be like, oh, that's not real. Not a real thing. There's no such thing as that. That episode of Rugrats where Tommy was hallucinating creatures isn't real. Actually, that one is real. I'm pretty sure that one's real. It's either Tommy or Chucky. That's real, actually. I should take that back. Not gonna. But analog horror takes those bits of childhood nostalgia, flips it on its head, gets down on its knees and goes, I'm gonna make it worse. You're probably asking, Chris, why the fuck are you going over nostalgia? Why, like, we don't have that? Like, every single person on the planet doesn't experience some form of nostalgia? Well, analog horror is a fresh take on the horror genre as a whole. You have, traditional horror where it's, the Freddy Kruegers, the Friday the 13th. You've got Predator. Does Predator count? Predator counts. You have the Hellraisers, Chucky, and then you've got Leprechaun, and to a lesser degree, Leprechaun 5 in the Hood. But in those old traditional horrors, they rely a lot on jump scares and gratuitous gore of just limbs. Your editor cut my arm and fling it so it looks like it's gore. Okay. Those relied on way too much. And I feel that it takes away from the deeper things you can do with horror. The atmosphere where you are watching, you want to look away, but you're so hooked. It's so crazy. It's so gripping. You don't want to look away, but fuck! Think about it like this. You're at home. It's just you and the TV. Nobody else. No one else is home. In between commercial breaks, you hear a floorboard above you creak, ever so slightly. Just a little... What do? Do you panic, run outside, screaming at the top of your lungs, letting your neighbors know that some shit's going down at the house? Or are you brave and intrepid and you go and investigate? Analog horror assumes that you're the investigative type and shows you why you just leave. So where did this entire genre of horror start? It's pretty well debated online, but the general consensus is around 2009 to mid-2010s. I didn't catch on to analog horror until, probably late 2020. So I'm a bit of a late adopter. But ever since I watched the first analog horror for me, The Walton Files, I was absolutely hooked. Analog horror, it's been around for quite a while. Absolutely, no question. But didn't really garner a ton of attention until Chris Straub's Local 58 in 2015. The reason this video ended up blowing the subgenre wide open was because of how each video is a spitting image of a news broadcast from 1980s to 1990s, maybe even the early 2000s. It's got a very heavy retro feel, and each video plays like an actual broadcast. I would venture a guess that if you were to tell somebody that never knew about analog horror that the things you were watching were real, they would totally believe you wholesale. The first video from Local 58 starts as if it's alerting the populace about the moon. Something's going on with the moon. At first, it's telling you to not go outside. Do not go outside. Don't look at the moon. Don't look at the windows. Just basically keep your head down, stay inside, don't look out. After a couple glitches, it seems as though something's changed because the broadcast starts stating, hey, you can look outside. You don't have to stay away from the windows. Go look, take a big old wide gander at the moon. It's totally fine. Nothing's gonna happen at all. I promise, I swear. But in between these messages, something keeps popping on the screen telling the viewer to not go outside and to not look at the moon. So what the hell is actually going on? Before we get an answer, the video cuts and we're left with absolutely no answers as to what the hell is going on. Second video from Local 58 is called Contingency, where a broadcast gets taken over by the U.S. Department for the Preservation of American Dignity, saying that the United States is forced to surrender to her enemies. Through this statement, it instructs Americans to act, which is relatively ambiguous until it gets a little bit further ahead and kind of clears up what acting means for Americans. Initially, that's posed as a heroic and patriotic thing to do. But as it continues, it doesn't seem to be a request anymore. Basically, they start telling you, hey, if you don't act, yeah, we're going to do it for you. We're going to act for you. We're going to come to your house. We're going to kick your door in. And we're going to take care of business, you know? Because that's what we're doing. Because we need to preserve American dignity, okay? And nothing says the preservation of American dignity like a bootstrap guy kicking in your door and putting two in between your eyes. The broadcast then gives instructions on how to act and recommends that you act for your children and babies before you die. Not some other word that rhymes with lie and starts with a D. Don't need YouTube coming after me. So I'm not going to spoil every episode from Local 58 here, but from what I can gather, each episode tackles some kind of news broadcast explaining bits and pieces of what's actually going on in this version of the United States. First episode had something going on with the moon, and D-Pad was initially telling people to stay indoors, then basically turning about face and saying, hey, go outside, look at the moon, it's fine. It's totally fine. What do you mean? What the fuck is going on with the moon? What's going on with D-Pad? Are they some benevolent branch of the government, or are they compromised by some nefarious actor and we can't trust them? Just from those two synopses, I hope you can understand why Local 58 blew up as much as it did. It projected an entirely brand new subgenre of horror into the relative mainstream. Everybody started picking up on it and being like, oh my god, dude, you ever heard of analog horror? It's fucking crazy, bro. Yeah, dude, I saw it. It's super cool. Local 58 brings with it the anxiety of an emergency news broadcast mixed with some dystopian branch of the government giving you orders that go against primal nature. It makes you ask the question, who can you trust if you can't trust the highest level of government? But if that little bit of info interests you about Local 58, then I can't recommend it enough, highly recommend that you give them a look. I'll have them down in the description below. Thanks, Charlie. You're the best, big guy. Oh, hi there. Do you like horror? You're a pretty big fan of it? You like it a lot? Big fan of it. Okay, this isn't an ad. Stop. Put down the click. Stop trying to click. You're fine. This isn't an ad. All I'm going to ask is that you hit that subscribe button. You enjoy my content, you enjoy what I do, hit that subscribe button. Give it a little likey like, you know? Tap it with your finger, little. And leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the stuff I put up. And if you really want to, give that little notification bell just a little. You can even use a little tongue. Nobody's gonna judge. I'm not judging. Whatever gets you going, bud, that's on you. That ain't on me. I'm just facilitating a little bit of je ne sais quoi. I need to look up what that means. I'll have that popped up here. So we've covered the series that kicked off the popularity of analog horror. So how about we take a look at the thing that started everything? No Through Road is a series of videos made by Stephen Chamberlain in 2009. It's a found footage type series where four 17-year-old boys go missing, and shortly after, they're found dead in their car. The first of these tapes documents the boys. It starts off as pretty normal, where the four boys are messing around, driving, kind of haphazardly, really. And it's intercut with clips of the boys hanging out and just being bros, being dudes, being guys. Then, the boys drive up and into an odd archway with a sign next to it that says, No Through Road. Things then start to get a little fucky. When they leave the tunnel and attempt to head back toward the highway, they realize getting back home is going to be a lot more difficult than they'd anticipated. After what seems like hours, the boys find themselves back at the archway. It's then when a creature in all black begins to stalk them. There's numerous cuts here, but what can be gathered is that the creature is systematically hunting them down and killing them one by one. The video ends with the main camera smashing one of the boys' face in. It's pretty graphic, pretty gruesome, but if you can stomach it, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Impressive for a dude with a YouTube channel. The next video is of someone who has some relation to one of the boys as he brings flowers to the last site that they were at. Him and his friend end up on the same road as the previous boys when they continue to keep passing the same, town sign saying, oh, left is blah, 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 and right is blah, blah, blah. They park and something happens with them finding one of the boys from the first tape beaten, bruised, and bloodied, screaming his head off, freaking out.
He's waking up. Stephen, it's okay. Stephen, calm down.
Where am I? Where? James! Oh, James! James, you got away!
Yeah, I got away. Where have you been?
Dave!
Hi, Steve.
Steve.
It's okay, calm down. Where have you been? Alright.
Where is
It's okay,
he?
don't worry.
Where is he?
Where did I go? Where's he? Where have you been?
As they're trying to leave, they run into the same masked stalker from the first video. They try to run him off the road when they get teleported right back to the archway and nearly crash and die. There are more tapes to continue this, but I'm just trying to be your narcotic salesman, baby. You only get a little taste, just a little... little taste. I don't know if I should be doing the gum thing. I think that might be a step too far. We'll find out. No Through Road is a great analog horror series. Even if it's more found footage akin to Blair Witch than it is to Local 58. It's a chilling series because it shows you can be living completely carefree, having fun with your bros, eating some snacks, drinking some sodas, and that could be completely flipped upside down and you're gone. The series, it's great, and I can't recommend it enough. It definitely should have gotten way more traction than it did. And then we have the series that got me hooked on analog horror, The Walton Files. The series starts with what seems like an old employee training tape for Bond's Burgers. Shows you a couple of the animatronics and explains your duties as an employee of Bunny Smiles Inc. I'm already kind of unnerved just looking at these guys like, look at that. This is supposed to be for kids. Like, what kind of kids? Like, kids you don't like? Kids you wouldn't mind misplacing? Like, what? Like, kids you just want to throw in a bag and drive off of a cliff? Like, what kind of... Who is this for? So this part of the first video goes over the animatronics singing old songs, assumedly to bring cheer to the little kiddos, until they start singing Old MacDonald. This is when stuff kind of gets a little screwy for me. It starts to get a little weird, little uncomfortable, because the animal sounds don't quite sound right. They sound like the animals are being, like, hurt, I guess, for lack of a better term. They're just in despair, I guess, would be the best way to put that.
And on that farm he had some pigs.
We then get introduced to the rest of the showstoppers. Bon, Shah, Boozoo, Banny, and Billy the Clown. I don't know why the freaking clown gets the title where the others just get the title of their species. Like, can we get like a showstopper union going so we can kind of get these guys their proper titles, you know, instead of just the speciesist and then the clown. We've got the species and the clown. That's okay. Come on, Bunny Smiles. You need to do better, okay? A little further, and then we get introduced to the founders of Bunny Smiles Inc., Jack Walton and Felix Kranken. A bit further in the video, we get some distorted audio. It sounds a little backwards, so I'll try to reverse it and see if we can get something out of it. Unless you don't see that after this, it means I couldn't do it. If you can do it, go for it. Go for it. Shoot me a message on Twitter. Send it to me. Let me know what the hell it's actually saying. That'd be cool.
You finally start to remember. That's all there. They will be back for you soon.
Now we've got an animation of Bond hearing a noise from his bedroom and going to his TV, where there's a missing notice for Jack Walton, and it's talking to him. I've listened to this a few times, and I still really have no idea what's being said, so again, if you guys can figure it out, let me know. That'd be really cool. I would enjoy actually getting to hear some of the lore with these weird audio distortions. Then we cut to a guy driving down a dirt path. I'm assuming it's one of the Bond's Burgers restaurants. He is talking to someone on the phone, stating that the place is run down and really looks like hell. Something is a bit off with Bond, though. It looks like its mechanics are decayed and decrepit. It looks disheveled as shit. It just looks like it hasn't been in operation for years. Mechanics are all messed up in this thing. So our technician attempts to go through the beginning normal operating procedures. Moving the head, moving the arms, moving the legs, everything. When it cuts to a really haunting picture of Bond, I don't know if this is supposed to symbolize like what he saw or if it's just meant for the audience. You know what I mean? Is it the technician was working on it and then Bond just like and freaked him out, or I'm not totally sure. I'm kind of done with this stuff, so this is just my brain working. All right. We then cut to our tech guy running through the forest as something seems to be gravely wrong. He gets out a few words before the video cuts. Then all we see are two just bright white beads of light in absolute shadow before we see a picture of bloody Bond shaking before the video corrupts, and then it shows this. I don't even know what this is supposed to be. In my expert opinion, it kind of looks like Jack Walton. Could this be like an interpretation of him kind of controlling his animatronics, making him kill people? Maybe. I don't know. I'm a watcher. I'm not making any assumptions here, but you know, it's what I'm working with. After the weird face thing, it cuts to a still image of what looks like Buzu, but he's horribly deformed and bloodied. Some text pop up on the screen. Instead of explaining it, I'll pull it up right here and you can see for yourself. It then fades into a picture of an employee badge. We now have the name of our technician who got aided by Bond. Could the facial recognition software in Bond have glitched and confused Brian for someone else? Maybe the she that was mentioned? I don't know. The video ends on a still image of Felix Kranken smiling, and now that I look at it, he does kind of look like the 3D rendered face thing, so maybe that was him. Maybe it's Felix Kranken. Maybe he's the one that's controlling everything. Oh, shit. Okay. It continues on. And it shows a beautiful Bond waving at us as the audio distorts and quickly goes back to normal. Nothing weird there.
Years of legal paperwork, we finally decided to use our backup plan, which we created after the tragic closure of Bond's Burgers back on July 20th, 1974. Ladies and gentlemen, we now present to you the Relocate Project. But before we go into details, we want to greet all the new Bunny Smiles employees.
With the company greeting out of the way,
Let's start analyzing the Relocate Project by checking what has happened ever since the closure of Bond's 4 years ago.
So now, this says that the relocation project started after the closure 4 years ago. So the restaurant closed down. I'm going to assume right after the tech got. I don't know. I could be totally missing something. I could be just not paying attention. I don't know. I'm done with this shit. I'm working on it. I'm working, okay? So Bunny Smiles Inc. sold the license out to basically anybody who would take it. Books, toys, even a TV show about the Showstoppers. So they basically became Disney if Disney had two guys instead of just one, and they overtly were trying to kill people. We then get a demonstration of the features of our animatronics and how they work. We get to see Bond's mouth moving to talk to the kids, his eyes scrolling around searching for customers. When it then shows Bond's skull overlaid on top of Bond's Animatronic head. Nothing weird about that. No, we'll just moving on. We see an animation of Bond going through doors as the audio says the rabbit is trying to find a way out. It just plays this on loop, back and forth, while we watch as Bond's desperately trying to go out. He's trying to go to the right, to the left, up, down, left, right, A, B. I don't know how he did A, B, but he's doing it and he can't leave. He's stuck. He's stuck here.
Rabbit tries to find a way out of the cage, but it's unsuccessful. The rabbit keeps trying to find a way out, or at least catch the owner's attention. The mighty rabbit must get out. The mighty rabbit needs to 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 get out. The rabbit is starving. The rabbit is starving. The rabbit is starving.
It then states he's starving. And we get corrupted footage again. Fast forward, and now we have Shaw explaining to us that as an employee, we need to always have our BSI ID card on us at all times, lest we get lost in the building and can't get out. She talks about how we need to keep the area clean so that we can work faster, and I think that's honestly solid advice. Gotta keep things organized so you can always find them, unless you're a freak and can't be bothered to clean, you fucking weirdo.
Hello, I see you made it to the storage facility. I bet you must be very excited and nervous to start working here. But let's stop and think. Do you have all the necessary items for your job tasks? I thought so. Let's put on a nice backpack and start packing some items. Let's check the items you will require for your job at K9. Lantern? Check. Snacks? Check. Key? Check. Camera? Check.
Moving on. It has Shaw showing us the stage room and explaining that unless you're faculty, you should not be back here or touching robots. When she leaves the room, it shows her coming right back into the stage room. As the audio begins to distort, we hear Shaw say that we've already been here. Upon leaving, we end up back in the stage room again. This happens a couple more times until inevitably Shaw looks at us and begins to cry as her model kind of morphs into a woman. We get a monologue from the woman about how she entered the room to find her husband but only found Bond. Bond then says,
You're broken. We'll fix you. You're beautiful. You will be there.
It then cuts to the woman dead and in pieces. Oh god, it shows Bond putting the pieces of the woman inside. Show what the fuck, man? Okay, so there's a lot of fuckery going on with this restaurant, to say the least, and I think we get more answers later. But like any good dealer, I only give you a taste, baby, just a little. Just like the other one, I only give you just a little bit. But what if we learned from analog horror as a medium? I don't think that you need $1 million budget and a star-studded cast to make something scary. You just need passion, little talent, and something that you want to bring to an audience. This subgenre is something that wasn't really done often, more of a niche on the internet. But I truly think that analog horror should be enjoyed by every horror fan around, if only just to see what can be done with a YouTube channel and an idea. So is this making you think about shows or games you watched or played as a kid? Did Reptar really devour Tommy in that one episode? Did that broadcast on the news really happen about the giraffe mauling people inside Toys R Us? Does Dead Hand actually drag Link into the earth if you don't defeat him? I don't know. But I do know that analog horror is freaking sweet. And if you got nothing else from this video, I hope it gave you something to at least look up on a windy night when you're all alone. Analog horror is really something that can only be done independently. I feel that if a big budget studio tried to do something like this, it wouldn't have the same kind of impact. It wouldn't be believable if something that could have happened, which is why I truly think analog horror is a fantastic subgenre. But I'm just a dude that likes scary shit and does his best to give a unique spin on this kind of stuff. This is only just scratching the surface of the other channels that do analog horror. And guaranteed stuff I've never seen. We've got Vita Carnis, being one I'd absolutely love to get into, or the Mandela catalogs. I'll have those pinned in the comment below if you want to take a look at those too. So what do you think? Is analog horror for you, or is it just not your cup of tea? Let me know in the comments if you made it this far, and please remember to like, subscribe, and kiss that bell for more content from me. Thank you for watching. Have a look at my other stuff at the end of the video, and I'll see you in the next one.